Lu Shiqing's first act after his rebirth was to annul our betrothal and publicly declare his intent to marry my younger half-sister. In my past life, he fell head over heels for my half-sister at first sight, yet married me according to our engagement. For 40 years as husband and wife, I devoted myself to being the mistress of the Marquis's household, bearing him sons and daughters, pouring my heart and soul into it. Yet no matter how hard I tried, I could never shake the shadow in his heart. Even as he lay dying, the name he called out was that of my younger sister. So this time, I threw the marriage contract into the flames without hesitation. In this new life, may you finally get what you desire. From this day forward, our ties are severed. We are strangers. When Lu Shiqing came to annul our betrothal, the wounds on his back had not yet healed. I heard he endured 30 strokes of the court cane to win his elders' consent. Beaten until bloodied and unconscious, he never relented. He rushed here before his injuries healed, driven by 2 purposes. First, to annul our engagement. Second, to seek the hand of my younger sister. He stood in the biting wind. His face was pale, yet his stance was resolute, meeting those familiar eyes and brows. I knew Lu Shiqing had also been reborn. A mocking smile curled my lips. I had the marriage contract brought forth. Before his very eyes, I tossed it into the nearby brazier. The marriage contract bearing both our names turned to ashes, vanishing into the dust. His amber eyes flickered, and in a hoarse voice, he said, "Thank you for granting my request." Without hesitation, I turned and walked away. I did not look back at him once. Lu Shiqing. From this day forward, our past ties are severed. We are strangers. My betrothal was replaced by my younger half-sister. My mother slammed her teacup in fury. Tea splashed everywhere. Pointing toward the door, she screamed, "That shameless vixen! Just like her fox spirit mother. She snatched your husband. That was your destined match. If I'd known this day would come, I never should have let her be born." I hurried to steady her and soothe her. I didn't blame Mother for her outburst. To her, the match with the loyal and valiant Marquis's household was the most auspicious possible. My father was merely a court physician. Originally, we were far beneath the Marquis's noble station. But when I was young, attending a banquet at the Marquis's residence, I inadvertently saved the life of the Marquis's matriarch with my medical skills. The dowager, grateful for this kindness and finding me to her liking, thus arranged my betrothal to Lu Shiqing. The House of Loyal Bravery is known for its upright family values. Lu Shiqing himself has a reputation for virtue. Countless noble ladies coveted this prized match, yet it unexpectedly fell to me. To say it wasn't enviable would be a lie. Mother always took pride in this marriage. Now this marriage has been transferred to my younger half-sister, Wanxing. Her mother stole my mother's husband, and now she has stolen mine. No wonder Mother is so furious. The image of Wanxing flashed through my mind. Divine grace, delicate as a willow in the wind. Though we share no mother, we bear a striking resemblance. Yet she leans toward soft allure, while I possess a more dignified bearing. I offered Mother another cup of tea and urged her, "Mother, though Lu Shiqing broke our engagement, with so many eligible young men in the capital, must I truly fear remaining unmarried?" Mother's gaze held both reluctance and heartache. But could anyone else compare to Lu Shiqing? I lowered my eyes. A sigh escaped my heart. Softly, I murmured, "That may not be so. In my past life, I married Lu Shiqing as I'd wished." At first, I was filled with joy. We'd been betrothed since childhood, destined for each other from the start. So I made his preferences my own, molding myself into the woman he desired. But only after marrying him did I realize. He never loved me. His heart belonged to my younger half-sister, Wanxing. How deeply did he love her? After our betrothal, he paid me no mind whatsoever. But from a certain day onward, he began visiting the Su residence frequently. I thought he came to see me, but in truth, he came for Wanxing. After our marriage, he constantly claimed he feared I'd be lonely, urging me to invite Wanxing to stay at our residence temporarily. Even after Wanxing married, he would invite her and her husband over for gatherings under the pretext of family visits. His care for her was so meticulous. He used me as an excuse for everything, refusing to let her reputation suffer even the slightest blemish. Had I not been cleaning the study and accidentally discovered the secret room filled with her portraits covering every wall, I might have remained in the dark forever. Only then did I realize. It all began at the 100 Flowers banquet hosted by the Grand Princess. At that banquet, he caught a fleeting glimpse of a young woman. From that moment, it was etched into his soul, a single glance that spanned an eternity. That maiden was Su Wanxing. I had attended the 100 Flowers banquet too, but the memory was distant. I only recalled winning first place in the archery competition, drawing everyone's praise. I had even given Su Wanxing a rhinoceros horn hairpin adorned with plum blossoms. As for when Lu Shiqing first crossed paths with her, I couldn't recall. Yet the gears of fate turned silently. Lu Shiqing fell deeply for Su Wanxing at first sight. But by then, he was already betrothed to me. This secret love was destined to be his lifelong regret. He married me as per the betrothal. Yet his true heart remained hers. After learning the truth, I cried, I raged. Then came indifference, then numbness. For 40 years as husband and wife, I strove to be the perfect mistress of the Marquis's household, bearing him sons and daughters, pouring my heart and soul into it. But no matter how hard I tried, I could never shake the shadow in his heart. As he lay dying, I watched him coldly from his bedside. Hearing him call out Su Wanxing's name still made my heart ache. I couldn't help but want to ask him. If given another lifetime, would he still marry me by parental decree? When he arrived through the snowstorm bearing the marriage contract, I knew the answer. No. A quiet sigh of relief escaped me. Good. Because in this lifetime, I no longer wished to be entangled with him either. After the engagement's annulment, the atmosphere at home shifted subtly. Concubine Qiao, already favored by father, grew even more prominent. Mother, enraged, fell ill. That day, when I went to tend to her, I saw Su Wanxing kneeling outside mother's courtyard. And beside her, Lu Shiqing, trying to pull her up. The two of them, a handsome man and a beautiful woman, looked perfectly matched. I couldn't help but sneer. At this point in time, the princess's 100 Flowers banquet had not yet taken place. According to the timeline of my past life, Lu Shiqing never visited after our engagement was announced. We never even met face to face. Now, with the betrothal replaced, he suddenly shows such diligence. I had no intention of acknowledging him. But Lu Shiqing had spotted me and was already approaching. Anger simmered beneath his clear, shallow gaze. Su Wanyu, you know full well that ending our engagement was my decision alone. Why torment Wanxing by making her kneel here? Let me make this clear, the only one I will ever love is her. No matter how much you scheme, I will never marry you. What? I glanced at Su Wanxing behind him. Her eyes were red, looking utterly wronged. Suddenly, I understood, Lu Shiqing mistakenly believed I had made her kneel here. It wasn't me. I tried to explain, but Lu Shiqing cut me off. Enough. I know you've never liked Wanxing, but couldn't you avoid such despicable tactics? This only makes me despise you more. With that, he grabbed Su Wanxing and turned to leave. I called out to him, but he didn't stop. I picked up a stone from the ground and threw it at his back. He winced in pain and turned back, glaring at me. I said coldly, I'll say this once, I didn't make her kneel. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Lu Shiqing, you're not that important to me. I don't need you. A flicker of surprise crossed his face. Regardless of his thoughts, I walked away without a second glance. Enough with the concessions from my past life. This time, why should I compromise myself? I entered Mother's room. She was taking her medicine. She wasn't seriously ill, just upset. Even lying in bed, she'd occasionally curse Su Wanxing under her breath. I handed her some candied fruit and casually asked if she'd made Su Wanxing kneel outside the courtyard. Mother looked surprised. She's kneeling out there? Then she snorted, good for her, she knows better now. Realized she was in the wrong and came to beg forgiveness on her knees. Her surprise confirmed my suspicion. Su Wanxing had indeed knelt there of her own accord. By kneeling like that, others would assume my mother and I resented her for stealing my marriage and deliberately punished her. A reputation for jealousy, malice, and pettiness would then be pinned on me. If Lu Shiqing happened to see it, it would only deepen his disgust for me and his pity for her. In my past life, I knew Wanxing wasn't the innocent, gentle soul she always pretended to be. Could she truly have been unaware of Lu Shiqing's 40-year-long affection for her? I doubted it. Mother stood there, basking in her triumph. I sighed. No wonder Mother couldn't outmaneuver concubine Xiao. Coming from a military family, Mother's thoughts were straightforward, her actions direct. How could she possibly match concubine Xiao's cunning? If not for her formidable maternal family, she'd have been devoured by concubine Xiao without even knowing how she died. In my previous life, I was so consumed by Lu Shiqing that I neglected Mother. Though she seemed strong, she must have endured many injustices. This thought softened my heart. I walked to Mother's bedside, embraced her tenderly, and carefully explained Wanxing's intentions. Mother immediately grew so furious she began pounding the bed frame. Stirred by Wanxing's provocation, Mother rose from her bed. She helped me groom and dress, then delivered a formal invitation to the Jianqing Marquis' residence. The Marquis' wife was a close confidant of Mother's from their maiden days. She possessed an open-hearted nature, free from snobbery about family background, and enjoyed an excellent reputation throughout the capital. Many noble families in the capital sought her counsel for matchmaking. This time, Mother went with a burning determination. Her sole focus was to find me a husband better than Lu Shiqing. Though I felt helpless, I couldn't disobey her wishes and had no choice but to comply. When we arrived, the Countess of Jianqing and my mother exchanged pleasantries for a while. Then she brought out a stack of portraits and said to me warmly, "These are all young men in the capital with respectable backgrounds who are still unmarried. Take a look, Wan Yu, and see if any catch your eye. I'll speak to them for you." I thanked her and began flipping through them casually. I intended to merely glance through them, but when I reached one particular portrait, my eyes were instantly drawn to it. The man depicted was strikingly handsome, surpassing even Lu Shiqing, who was famed for his grace and elegance. Yet his expression was stern and unyielding, his face cold and severe. Even through the portrait, the sharpness in his eyes was palpable. It was Zuofeng, the military commander known as the Jade-Faced Yama. Zuofeng was the sole son of the princess. As the emperor's henchman, he was ruthless and feared by many. Yet his noble lineage and striking looks drew countless suitors. If I recall correctly, however, he remained unmarried in my previous life. I lowered my gaze, deep in thought. Mother suddenly leaned in, spotting the portrait in my hand. "Oh my, this is beyond our reach." She hastily snatched the portrait from my grasp, setting it aside as if it were something scalding. Her eyes still held fear. On the way back from the Jianqing Marquis' residence, she kept gently advising me not to consider Zuofeng, he was beyond the reach of families like ours. Only after I assured her repeatedly did she finally relax. Truthfully, the reason I stared at Zuofeng's portrait wasn't because I harbored feelings for him. It was because I suddenly recalled how he had helped me in my previous life. He wasn't as cold-hearted as the rumors claimed. This was shortly after I discovered the walls covered in Lu Shiqing's portraits. I was still trying to win him back. It happened to be the end of the year, and we went together to a temple in the mountains outside the city to pray for blessings. As fate would have it, we encountered Wanxing, who had also come to pray that same day. Lu Shiqing's eyes lit up instantly. Since they were relatives, Wanxing wished to return with us. With so many people watching, I reluctantly agreed. But on the way back, we encountered bandits. The bandits and guards clashed fiercely, their battle cries shaking the heavens. Hiding in the carriage, I was terrified. My instinct was to seek Lu Shiqing's protection. But he didn't even glance at me. He abandoned me and rushed towards Wanxing's carriage. Amid the snowstorm, the sound of hooves grew faint and distant. My mouth felt salty, tears had slipped down my cheeks unnoticed. My heart sank completely. Hiding forever wasn't an option. I bolted from the carriage and ran frantically in one direction. Whether by luck or misfortune, the bandits did not pursue. But I lost my way. Amidst the vast expanse of white snow, the cold numbed my mind. I nearly believed I would die here. Yet at that very moment, I saw Zuofeng, clad in black. He strode through the snowstorm. He unfastened his cloak and draped it over me. Others say he is ruthless and heartless. But I only remember this: in my darkest hour, he escorted me safely. Back at the manor, my mother and I intended to retire to our chambers. Yet a maid hurried in, announcing father wished to discuss matters with us. Mother and I exchanged glances, both reading confusion in each other's eyes. Father never meddled in household affairs. What could he possibly want? When we entered the front hall, we found not only my father present. Concubine Qiao and Su Wanxing were there too. Concubine Qiao approached my mother eagerly the moment she saw her. Before long, she laid her cards on the table, revealing her true purpose. In short, they wanted my dowry. What? My mother's eyes widened, doubting her own ears. Madame Qiao stroked her temple and smiled. Sister, Wanxing is to marry into the Marquis of Loyal Valor's household. Should her dowry be too meager, it would bring shame upon our Su family and invite ridicule toward our master. Besides, the dowry you originally prepared for one you will go to the Marquis's household anyway. Why not give it to Wanxing first? One you won't be marrying anytime soon. We can prepare her dowry when she marries in the future. You're out of your mind. At these words, mother exploded. She cursed furiously. The dowry I prepared for my daughter, why should it go to you? That Su Wanxing, a mere concubine's daughter, dares covet the dowry meant for the legitimate heiress. Dream on. Before she could utter more vile words, I quickly restrained her. Concubine Qiao rushed to my father, wailing and complaining. My father flung his sleeve aside and spat out 2 words. Hussy. My gaze grew steadily colder. My father had never favored my mother. Though intimidated by my maternal grandfather's family influence, he hadn't gone so far as to favor a concubine over his wife. Yet it was undeniable that he doted on concubine Qiao. He found my mother's speech and manner coarse. She lacked concubine Qiao's gentle attentiveness. He even treated their daughters differently. Though I was the legitimate daughter, I held no special place in my father's heart. He never showed me affection. Now, I looked at him. Father agrees to give Wanxing my dowry? My father avoided my gaze. Since your betrothal was just annulled, no one will dare marry you anytime soon. Better to give it to Wanxing. It saves the family's face and serves 2 purposes. Faced with his blatant favoritism, I sneered coldly. A 2-for-1 deal indeed. Too bad I disagree. Their calculations are rather loud. My dowry was meticulously prepared by my mother, piece by piece. Not to mention how much she supplemented from her private treasury. Some jewelry was even specially commissioned by my maternal grandfather's family. Mother never wanted me to marry into the Marquis's household only to be looked down upon, so every item was of the finest quality. Now they think they can just take it all with a few words? They're dreaming. If father feels my sister's dowry is inadequate, he can simply give her money to buy some decent jewelry. But there's one thing, I am also father's daughter. Whatever my sister gets, I must have too. There can be no favoritism. Otherwise, I will make a scene. You. Father's face turned ashen. How have you become this way? Just as vulgar as your mother. Aunt Qiao's voice dripped with venom. A woman's most important virtue is docility. A young lady who competes even with her own sister, no wonder the Marquis's household rejected the match. Let them talk. I won't budge an inch. In my past life, I was demure and submissive my entire existence, yet that was the fate I met. This time around, my perspective has shifted. Seeing them helplessly stomping their feet in frustration was nothing short of delightful. In the end, father had no choice but to concede. He handed over silver for Su Wanxing and me to buy jewelry. Su Wanxing and I climbed into the carriage. I couldn't be bothered with her and closed my eyes to rest as soon as we boarded. Suddenly, Su Wanxing spoke. Eldest sister, are you jealous of me? I opened my eyes, looking at her in confusion. She continued speaking as if to herself. Of course you are jealous of me. You are the legitimate daughter, raised with care by the First Lady and your maternal grandfather's family. You were born a rank above me. My mother was born a courtesan, skilled only in serving men with her looks. You, with your lofty pride and that splendid betrothal to back you up, always looked down on us with the First Lady. But now? The man you long to marry is taking me instead. I will become the esteemed Marquise. When that day comes, you and the First Lady will have to kneel before me. How does it feel to have everything you possessed snatched away? You hate me. You envy me. Right? Her eyes held undisguised triumph. Setting aside my past life, I only now realize how much resentment she harbors toward me. I did hate her. But that was in my previous life, when she constantly entangled herself with Lu Shiqing. When I first found out, I wanted nothing more than to kill her. But now I've come to understand. I can find joy, happiness, and emotion in others. Pain, hatred, and sorrow? Forget it. Living this life anew, I intend to be content, joyful, and live 100 years. There's no need to waste my energy on such things. So I looked at her calmly and asked, "You're so scheming, yet you always pretend to be kind and innocent. Doesn't living like that tire you?" Su Wanxing's face twisted instantly. The carriage halted before the gates of Treasure Pavilion. Treasure Pavilion was the capital's largest jewelry shop, renowned for its diverse designs and exquisite craftsmanship. It was favored by noble ladies and wives throughout the city, even attracting female relatives from influential families for custom orders and purchases. Several pieces of my dowry were purchased here, and Mother had also reserved a few items for me. I was here precisely to collect them. However, with the princess's upcoming 100 Flowers banquet, Treasure Pavilion was bustling with noble women eager to adorn themselves splendidly for the occasion. The moment I entered, I spotted a familiar face. It was my cousin, Qin Mingjiao. Qin Mingjiao is my uncle's daughter. She's cheerful and straightforward, and we've been close since childhood. We greeted each other warmly and exchanged pleasantries. Unaware of the circumstances, she even offered comfort about my broken engagement. Just then, a shop assistant approached me with several pieces of jewelry, saying politely, "Miss Su, these are the pieces of jewelry Mrs. Su reserved with us. Would you care to see if they meet your approval?" Among these pieces, the most valuable was undoubtedly the jade bracelet placed in the center. The bracelet was smooth and lustrous, its texture fine and delicate, though it bore a slight blemish within. Yet, a flaw in a flawless jade only serves to highlight its beauty. Qin Mingjiao chimed in beside me, "This bracelet is lovely. Wan Yu, try it on." I nodded. But just as I reached for it, Su Wanxing's hand suddenly pressed down on the bracelet. She lifted her eyes, her expression a mix of hurt and stubbornness. "Eldest sister, my wedding is imminent, and I'm in need of several pieces of jewelry. For the sake of our sisterhood, please let me have this bracelet." No wonder she was in such a hurry. Because of the princess's 100 Flowers banquet, all the good pieces had been snapped up by others. If she tried to have something custom-made now, it would be too late. After speaking, she slid the bracelet onto her own wrist. Before I could speak, Qin Mingjiao erupted. "How dare you take it? Have you no shame? You stole my eldest sister's fiancé, and now you're stealing her jewelry too. You." "Enough!" A sudden voice cut her off. Lu Shiqing rushed over, shielding Su Wanxing behind him as he glared at me. Lu Shiqing glared at me, fury evident in his eyes. Su Wanxing stood behind him, biting her lip, tears falling steadily down her cheeks. The commotion drew the attention of those nearby, who began gathering in small groups to watch the spectacle. Lu Shiqing glanced around, then addressed me coldly, "Su Wanyu, must you be so heartless? Must you humiliate Wanxing in front of everyone? You know perfectly well Wanxing did nothing wrong. It's simply that I don't like you and refuse to marry you. The one I truly love is her. Yes, Wanxing is only a concubine's daughter. But she is pure and gentle. As the legitimate daughter, you can act like the big sister at home, but out here, you dare to bully her like this." I was utterly baffled. Setting aside that Su Wanxing had provoked this incident by coveting my bracelet, let's just address the accusation of bullying. I hadn't even opened my mouth. How could I be bullying her? Lu Shiqing's accusation, however, made the crowd genuinely believe I oppressed my sisters at home by virtue of my legitimate status. People had already begun pointing fingers at me. My gaze darkened. With which eye did you see me bully her? Qin Mingjiao chimed in, exactly. I saw Su Wanxing acting like that green tea and couldn't help but call her out. What does that have to do with Guan Wanyu? Lu Shiqing snorted coldly. Who doesn't know you're close with Su Wanyu? She must have instructed you. Qin Mingjiao was furious. Just as she was about to speak, I pulled her back. Stepping forward, I met Lu Shiqing's gaze and asked, do you even know what started this dispute? Lu Shiqing's brow furrowed slightly. Clearly, he hadn't witnessed anything earlier. He'd only seen Su Wanxing crying and rushed to defend her. I scoffed, pointing at the bracelet on Su Wanxing's wrist. It's because your beloved snatched my jade bracelet. Lu Shiqing looked at Su Wanxing's hand upon hearing this. Surprise flashed across his previously angry face, along with a hint of complex emotion. His frown deepened. Su Wanxing, catching Lu Shiqing's gaze, looked like a startled fawn. Her expression was both aggrieved and fearful. It's... My eldest sister misunderstood. I only took it to look at it. She spoke, lowering her head as if struggling to hold back, but tears still streamed down uncontrollably. I'm just a concubine's daughter. I've never seen anything of value. I only wanted to prepare some dowry before marrying into the Marquis's household, so people wouldn't look down on me. I know our eldest sister resents me over the betrothal, but I never intended to take anything that belonged to her. Her tears flowed more heavily with each word. Lu Shiqing, who had accused me without knowing the truth, felt a twinge of guilt wash over his face. But now, hearing her words, that guilt vanished completely, replaced only by heartache for her. It's just a bracelet. Since Wanxing likes it, Su Wanyu, you should give it to her. Lu Shiqing spoke with an air of utter certainty. It was just like in my past life, when he defended Su Wanxing time and time again. Now, with this single sentence, he was defending her once more. The bitterness of that past life seemed to surge back into my heart. I stared straight at him. Lu Shiqing, why? Why should I yield to Su Wanxing? Lu Shiqing paused, averting his gaze from mine. Su Wanxing tugged lightly at his sleeve. Shiqing brother, please, it's because I'm of lowly status. I'm unworthy of such a fine bracelet. Lu Shiqing shuddered, his wavering gaze hardening as guilt gave way to heartache. He drew a deep breath and faced me. Because I am the heir to the Marquis of Loyal Valor, and Wanxing will be the future Marquis's wife. Su Wanyu, is that reason enough for you to hand over the bracelet? His eyes were icy, radiating the oppressive aura of a superior. Yet I suddenly felt a wave of irony. Power. How could I have forgotten that? My face felt like it had been slapped, burning hot. The gazes around me seemed to mock my presumption. Who did I think I was, daring to refuse the crown prince of loyal courage? Behind Lu Shiqing, Su Wanxing's eyes flashed with a subtle smirk. And I had no choice but to bow to them. All right. But just as I opened my mouth, a commanding female voice suddenly echoed from behind. What's the commotion? Let this princess see for herself. All eyes followed the sound. The eldest princess strolled in with deliberate grace. Beside her stood a figure clad in black, his face etched with grim resolve. Zuofeng. The crowd instantly knelt in unison. Shock and confusion rippled through them. The treasure pavilion belonged to the princess, so her presence here was unsurprising. What was surprising was Zuofeng's arrival. Though Zuofeng was the princess's only son, he handled the emperor's affairs, secret matters, at that, and was rarely seen. His most frequented place was usually the imperial prison. One would never expect him at the treasure pavilion. His narrowed gaze swept over the crowd, seeming to linger on me for an instant before casually shifting away. The princess commanded everyone to rise. What has happened? She inquired casually. The shopkeeper hurried forward and explained the situation in detail. The princess's eyes turned to me, scrutinizing me from head to toe. You are Su Wanyue, daughter of imperial physician Su? I hear you recently broke off your engagement to the crown prince of the loyal and valiant Marquis? I hurried forward to curtsy. I thought to myself, even the princess has heard about my broken engagement to Lu Shiqing. I just didn't know why she suddenly brought it up. As my heart raced with anxiety, I heard her continue, the appearance is fine, but the discernment is lacking." "What?" I didn't understand the princess's meaning. The others exchanged puzzled glances. Just then, Zuofeng spoke up. "My mother means that the jade bracelet Miss Su was looking at is not of good quality. The jade has flaws, it's better to pass." "You deserve better." "Better?" Perhaps my current expression looked foolish, for a faint smile flickered across Zuofeng's stern face. "I have a fine piece here that would suit you well. I hope you won't disdain it." He extended his hand toward the princess. The princess shot him a helpless glare before removing a bracelet from her own wrist. She placed it in Zuofeng's palm. Without even glancing at it, Zuofeng handed the bracelet to me. I was dumbfounded. Even after Zuofeng and the princess left, I hadn't regained my senses. Holding the jade bracelet in my hands, I didn't know whether to wear it or put it down. Those around me watched me with complex expressions. Lu Shiqing's voice was dry as he spoke. "Do you have a past with Commander Ji?" His tone carried a hint of urgency and anger. "What business is it of yours whether we do or not?" I had no intention of responding to him. Suddenly, he reached out and grabbed my arm. "Why would he stand up for you?" Complex emotions churned in his eyes, and his grip on my arm tightened involuntarily. I sneered coldly. "Your Highness, please restrain yourself. Your fiancé is watching." Lu Shiqing froze, meeting Wanxing's gaze. His grip loosened involuntarily. I seized the moment to shake free. After bidding farewell to Qinmingjiao, I boarded the carriage back to the estate. Inside the carriage, I stared at the bracelet in my hand. My heart was far from as calm as my outward appearance suggested. What exactly was Zuofeng trying to imply? Simply wanting to help me? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. From what I knew, Zuofeng was no kind-hearted soul moved by others' suffering. My mind leaned toward another possibility. But why? Recalling our brief encounters, including this life and the last, we'd met only twice. This lifetime, today was our first encounter. Surely he couldn't have fallen for me at first sight? I shook my head, quickly dismissing this absurd notion. The ruthless commander of legend couldn't possibly be so innocent. Absolutely impossible. After much deliberation, I still couldn't make sense of it. My gaze returned to the bracelet. After a moment's pause, I slipped it on. By the time I returned to the estate, Lu Shiqing had already arranged another carriage for Wanxing and sent her back. The moment they arrived, Lu Shiqing coldly addressed me. "You bullied Wanxing and won't admit it. You actually left her alone in the treasure pavilion and rode off in the carriage yourself." Wanxing stood behind him, looking at me with a pout. "Shiqing, please stop. Eldest sister didn't mean to do it." I felt a pang of guilt. My mind was in turmoil over Zuofeng, and I had indeed forgotten about Wanxing this time. But forgetting was one thing, admitting guilt was another. "Weren't you there? I created an opportunity for you two to be alone. You should be thanking me, not blaming me." Lu Shiqing was at a loss for words. His behavior today had been peculiar from the start. If he was convinced I deliberately left Wanxing behind, he could have simply comforted her. Why come here to confront me? Wasn't he just asking for a scolding? "If you two have nothing else, please leave." I issued my dismissal. But for some reason, Lu Shiqing seemed reluctant to leave. "You're also attending the 100 Flowers banquet at the princess's residence, right?" he suddenly asked. I grew impatient. "What business is it of the crown prince whether I go or not? You should focus your attention on Wanxing instead. After all, she's the one you abandoned everything to marry." Lu Shiqing faltered, then turned to see Wanxing staring at him with pleading eyes. His heart softened. He lifted his head and declared loudly, "Wanxing will naturally attend the 100 Flowers banquet too. And she will surely dazzle the entire gathering, stunning everyone." Even Wanxing was taken aback by this statement. I looked at him in puzzlement. I wondered if he had lost his memory after reincarnating. Because in the previous life, the one who truly dazzled at the 100 Flowers banquet was clearly me. On the day of the banquet, the matron had prepared a lotus-pink gown for me. I disliked it and changed into a pale green one instead. Isn't that too plain? The matron asked. I said nothing more. When I encountered Su Wanxing outside, she was indeed wearing the lotus pink gown. The nanny muttered behind me, thank goodness the eldest lady changed her dress. Otherwise, she would have clashed with the second lady. I smiled faintly, saying nothing. That's how it was in my previous life. I heard Lu Shiqing would also attend the princess's 100 Flowers banquet. To catch his attention, I deliberately chose a vividly colored dress. Little did I know Su Wanxing would choose the same color. We already bore a 5-part resemblance, and the matching attire made us look even more alike. People gossiped about it back then. Had I not later won first place in the princess's archery competition, who knows what embarrassment might have ensued. So this time, I avoided the situation altogether. The carriage delivered Su Wanxing and me to the princess's residence. After disembarking, servants escorted us inside. The moment I entered, I spotted Lu Shiqing. Seated in a position of honor, his eyes lit up upon seeing Su Wanxing arrive. He even descended personally to greet her. My mind couldn't help but drift to the bitterness of my past life. In that past life, I'd been filled with joy at the prospect of seeing him. Yet he merely glanced at me from afar before turning his head to continue chatting with others, never even taking the time to truly see what I looked like. Because he didn't care, my appearance meant nothing to him. Just like in this life. Because he cares about Su Wanxing, he'll give her dignity in public. I lowered my gaze, my expression calm. Recalling these things now, I feel neither resentment nor regret. Only pity for my former self. I poured my adoration into someone who didn't know how to cherish it. He wasn't worth it. My spirits had waned considerably. Lu Shiqing had already approached, and Su Wanxing stepped forward to greet him. I offered him a perfunctory bow. Just as I turned to leave, Lu Shiqing suddenly grabbed my arm. His expression was one of shock. As if he'd witnessed something utterly unbelievable. So much so that he blurted out, that hairpin. How is it on you? Everyone froze. Hairpin? What hairpin? Their gazes shifted to my head, a rhinoceros horn hairpin adorned with plum blossoms. It was mine to begin with, so naturally it was with me. Yours? Lu Shiqing's shock deepened. He looked at me, then at Su Wanxing, hesitating to speak. Uncertain of his intent, I grew impatient and turned away. But as I did, a possibility suddenly struck me. This possibility made my heart tighten. My breath caught. I whipped my head back towards Su Wanxing. She looked utterly bewildered. But she resembled me. If I hadn't changed clothes, we would have been identical. She didn't have the rhinoceros horn plum blossom hairpin. I did. Yet I clearly remembered giving this hairpin to Su Wanxing after winning first place in the archery competition. Her bun hadn't been secured properly. I feared she'd embarrass herself and bring shame upon the Su family, so I gave her the hairpin to secure her bun. I exhaled slowly. Truthfully, I'd never understood how Lu Shiqing had fallen for Su Wanxing in my previous life. All I knew was this: at the 100 Flowers banquet, Lu Shiqing caught sight of a girl, a fleeting glimpse that stole his heart. From that moment, her image lingered within him. And that maiden was Su Wanxing. Yet I couldn't recall any particularly remarkable performance by Su Wanxing at the banquet that would leave such an indelible impression. On the contrary, the one who truly shone was me. Considering Lu Shiqing's inexplicable confidence in Su Wanxing and his surprise at this hairpin, it was only natural for me to entertain this thought. What if? What if he had mistaken her identity? I didn't let the thought linger. The princess regent emerged. Zuofeng still followed behind her. Another wave of astonishment rippled through the crowd. Not because of anything else, but because Zuofeng had never attended any banquet before. Even when the 100 Flowers banquet was held at his own estate, he never showed his face. He hadn't appeared in my previous life either. Lately, his appearances had become far too frequent. The purpose of the banquet was networking. After the princess spoke a few polite words, the guests dispersed in small groups. Su Wanxing naturally stayed with Lu Shiqing. But Lu Shiqing seemed distracted, occasionally casting flustered glances my way before quickly averting his eyes. His gaze annoyed me. Just as I was thinking of moving away, I caught sight of Zuofeng slowly approaching me. I paused. I reflexively stood straighter, even touching my temple to check if my hair was disheveled. Zuofeng wasn't wearing his signature black attire today. Instead, he donned an indigo blue outer robe, appearing less menacing and more dignified. "Miss Su, it's been a while," he said with a smile. I couldn't help but smile back, returning his greeting with a bow. "Commander, you look well. Others say he's ruthless and fear him. But I don't. When I see him, I only recall that helpless snowy day. He reached out his hand when I was at my most desperate. That was one of the few moments of warmth I felt in my past life. So even though this life has begun anew, and he remembers nothing, I won't hide my fondness and gratitude for him." Lu Shiqing might fall for a girl at first sight, his heart forever captivated. But I, too, remember someone deeply for a single act of kindness. Perhaps everything was destined long ago. Zuofeng accompanied me as we wandered about, chatting casually as we walked. I pretended to casually tug at my sleeve, revealing my pale wrist. Zuofeng saw the bracelet on my wrist, his smile deepening. "Do you like this bracelet, young lady?" "Yes, I do. This bracelet is a family heirloom." I paused. Even though I had suspected it, my heart still tightened. After a moment, I looked up at him. "Will you regret this, Commander? After all, my family is not distinguished, our lineage unremarkable. We are not a suitable match." Zuofeng showed no hesitation. He stared at me without blinking. "So what?" In my heart, I hoped that person would be you. I lowered my head. I could barely hold back the urge to cry. So this is what it feels like to be chosen with such certainty. It was like a thick fog rising over a long, winding road. The moment the sun broke through, the fog dissipated. Only clear light remained. Zuofeng and I returned to the banquet hall. The moment we entered, all eyes turned to us. Occasional whispers could be heard. I could guess what they were saying. Nothing more than why Zuofeng, who had avoided women all these years, would be with me, someone whose engagement had been broken off. Zuofeng noticed the stares too. He gave the room a cold, sweeping glance. Silence fell. I almost laughed. Just then, the princess waved Zuofeng over. Reluctantly, he went. I met the princess's gaze. She smiled warmly at me. The moment Zuofeng left, Lu Shiqing hurried over. His tone was accusatory. "Where did you go with Zuofeng just now?" Of course, I didn't give him a friendly look. "Where we go is none of your business." Lu Shiqing choked on his words but still said coldly, "I advise you not to harbor any misguided notions. A family like Zuofeng's is beyond your reach." I shot him a dismissive glance, unwilling to engage. Yet he kept glancing at me, his expression hesitant. He seemed to want to ask something but dared not. Afraid of receiving an answer that contradicted his own assumptions. Just then, the princess announced an archery competition, open to all interested princes and noble daughters. I remained seated. In my previous life, I'd worked so hard just to catch Lu Shiqing's attention. This time around, I didn't need to prove myself. The one whose focus was already on me had noticed me. Others were irrelevant. Lu Shiqing, however, suddenly grew agitated. He approached Su Wanxing and urged her, "Wanxing, you must go. You'll surely shine and take first place." His tone was strangely tense, as if awaiting confirmation of something. Su Wanxing, however, looked utterly bewildered. Under Lu Shiqing's gaze, she cautiously replied, "But I don't know how to ride a horse." Lu Shiqing froze as if struck by lightning. "What did you say? Say that again." His voice suddenly rose, drawing the stares of everyone present, who looked at him in confusion. Lu Shiqing remained oblivious, his eyes fixed solely on Su Wanxing. Su Wanxing trembled. I can't ride horses." Lu Shiqing's face drained of color in an instant. He stood frozen for a moment. Impossible. Impossible. How could this be? Suddenly, he grabbed Su Wanxing's arm. "How could this be? You clearly told me that rhinoceros horn hairpin was yours." You clearly said your writing skills were excellent. You clearly said it. I never. When did I ever say? Pain brought tears to Su Wanxing's eyes. Lu Shiqing stood frozen like a statue. A moment passed. He slowly turned to me. I let out a derisive snort. It felt utterly absurd. When had she ever said such a thing? She must have said it in a past life. Su Wanxing's mother was a courtesan. How could she have taught her to ride? My mother, however, was the daughter of a general. She taught me archery and horsemanship from childhood. Lu Shiqing had mistaken her for someone else. So Su Wanxing played along with the mistake. After all, their relationship was destined to remain hidden. Lu Shiqing would never seek confirmation from others. Lu Shiqing, oh Lu Shiqing. How laughable. You spent your entire life filled with regret. You spent your entire life in agony. And what was the result? That elusive shadow you pursued in your past life? Was me. The one you married home, then neglected, despised, and loathed. Wan Yu. Lu Shiqing stepped forward, reaching out to touch me. But before he could draw near, a towering figure suddenly blocked him. Zuofeng wore a faint, ambiguous smile, his amber eyes flashing with icy coldness. The Lu heir is intoxicated. Attendants, escort the young master away to sober up. Lu Shiqing opened his mouth but ultimately remained silent. Su Wanxing watched his figure being led away. Hesitating, she did not step forward. When the banquet ended, Zuofeng came out to see me off. Seizing an unnoticed moment, he briefly took my hand. His expression appeared normal on the surface. But upon closer look, his ears had turned crimson. I'll have mother prepare the marriage proposal promptly. There's no need to rush. I stammered suddenly. No, I am in a hurry. When he released my hand, my face burned fiercely. Upon returning to the estate, Lu Shiqing had already been waiting at the Su residence. Seeing us enter, he hurried forward. Su Wanxing shyly ran towards him. Shiqing brother, how could you? Lu Shiqing, however, seemed not to notice her. He passed right by her and came to stand before me. Wan Yue, let me explain. I was wrong. I didn't know that person was you. Please give me another chance, okay? I promise, this time I will treat you well. His words held no pretense. Su Wanxing heard them, my parents and stepmother heard them, and the servants around us heard them too. I scanned the room, seeing shock etched on every face. My expression remained impassive as I said, "Get out." Lu Shiqing protested urgently, "I know you still care for me. Otherwise, why have you endured all this time? Why have you tried so desperately to win me back? Why have you poured your heart into caring for the child and managing the marquisate? I was wrong, truly wrong. Today I'll break off my engagement with Su Wanxing and ask for your hand anew. From now on, we'll be devoted husband and wife, never parting again, okay?" His tone was sincere, pleading, cautious. But to my ears, it only sounded disgusting. He knew. He knew how I felt about him. He knew what I'd sacrificed for him. He'd always known. Yet he still treated me this way. Lu Shiqing, I will never, ever forgive you. I said. Wan Yue. He tried to call my name again. I turned around and slapped him hard across the face. Smack! The blow stunned him. Ignoring him completely, I turned and walked away. Passing by Su Wanxing, she looked at me helplessly. The engagement breakup had left her mind blank. She had no idea what was happening. The people around her were just as bewildered. First he calls off the engagement, then he asks for your hand? Is this some kind of joke? After returning home, my mother came to find me, demanding to know what had happened. After all, they didn't know the full story and were baffled by Lu Shiqing's series of actions. Didn't he call off the engagement first? Why is he now asking for your hand? Is he just begging for humiliation? Me. I must admit, those two words summed it up perfectly. But I didn't want to discuss this with my mother. While Lu Shiqing's comeuppance brought me satisfaction, I longed to share my true joy with her. I rolled up my sleeve, revealing the jade bracelet on my wrist, and told her about Zuofeng. My mother's face turned pale with shock. She kept asking me to confirm. You mean the son of the eldest princess? Yes. You mean that jade-faced devil? Yes. You mean Zuofeng? Yes. After confirming it, Mother's world collapsed. You just said the other day you had no feelings for him? I avoided her gaze guiltily. Well, I didn't know about his feelings for me. Hesitation clouded her expression. But I clasped her hand. I know what worries you. I can't promise you Zuofeng, but I can promise myself. I had a dream recently. In it, I endured endless concessions and suffering until the moment I awoke. Only then did I realize, while loving others, I must first love myself. I will no longer fear reputation or family status. Mother, I am worthy of love, and I have the capacity to love others. My words plunged Mother into deep thought. She sat motionless for a long while before suddenly asking, if I were to divorce your father, would that cause you hardship? I smiled. No. Not at all. Mother seemed to have made her decision. She ceased to care about father's favor toward concubine Xiao, instead using the household funds to prepare my dowry with peace of mind. Well, how much to spend was naturally up to her as the mistress of the house. Zuofeng sent matchmakers on the second day after the 100 Flowers banquet. The princess herself came to our door, showing how much she valued me. She took my hand, a faint sense of relief washing over her as if a great burden had finally been lifted. My dear child, in our family, women hold higher status than men. Whatever you desire, speak freely. I froze. Then it dawned on me, the princess was marrying into the household as a son-in-law, meaning his standing within the manor would naturally fall short of hers. Mother and daughter exchanged a knowing smile, their eyes meeting with unspoken understanding. Where there is triumph, there is also loss. Lu Shiqing had been insisting on seeing me. When I refused, he camped outside the Su residence day after day. Later, after Zuofeng summoned him to the imperial prison, he stopped his vigil. Instead, he began frequenting Su Wanxing. He wanted to annul his engagement to her, but the loyal courageous Marquis's household was adamant it wouldn't happen. Left with no other option, he turned his attention to Su Wanxing. If Su Wanxing wanted to call off the engagement, the Marquis of Loyal Courage household wouldn't be able to object. He was like a man possessed. Whenever he had a moment, he sought her out, tirelessly. Naturally, Su Wanxing didn't want to break off the engagement. She was merely a concubine's daughter. A prestigious household like the Marquis of Loyal Courage was something she could only dream of. Such a stroke of luck falling from the heavens, she naturally held it tightly in her grasp. Moreover, she felt wronged. Truly wronged. She hadn't done anything. The man who had cherished her like a precious treasure just yesterday, how could he change so completely overnight? And now he spoke to her in baffling terms, shifting inexplicable blame onto her. She even suspected Lu Shiqing had been bewitched. She even secretly sought someone to examine him. A Taoist nun arrived. The nun smiled faintly, offering no judgment on the departing Lu Shiqing, but instead turned her gaze to Su Wanxing. Causes in a past life bear fruit in the next. You plucked another's virtuous cause in your previous existence. In this life, you must naturally bear the bitter fruit she endured. Su Wanxing was utterly bewildered. But her bewilderment didn't last long. Her defenses crumbled swiftly. As my wedding approached, I had to go out to select jewelry and buy clothes. By chance, Lu Shiqing encountered me. He clutched my sleeve desperately, asking timidly if I could please not marry someone else. Su Wanxing witnessed the scene. Her fiancé treated her with cold indifference while showering another woman with attentions. She could bear it no longer. She stormed over to confront me, demanding what I'd said to Lu Shiqing that made him act this way. My tone was flat, I said nothing. He simply saw the real you. Su Wanxing's expression turned utterly priceless. As I left, I heard her grinding her teeth behind me. I'll never give Lu Shiqing up to you. Ridiculous. I already have Liangpin Meiyu Zuofeng. What use is that flawed piece Lu Shiqing to me? I didn't give it a second thought. But a few days later, a major incident erupted at the Su residence. When Su Wanxing's maid came to wake her that morning, she found an extra person in the bedding. Lu Shiqing emerged from her room in a panic, his clothes disheveled. Facing the stares of everyone present, he understood. He glared furiously into the room. "Was it you? You gave me that cup of wine. How could you do such a thing? Have you no shame?" Su Wanxing only cried. Cried in grievance. Cried in guilt. Cried in triumph. The matter was settled. He would have to marry her, whether he wanted to or not. Su Wanxing's wedding date was even earlier than mine. Because she couldn't wait. The scandal between her and Lu Shiqing had already spread, it was impossible to conceal. So without pomp, without ceremony, she hurriedly married. Su Wanxing became the coveted wife of the Marquis' heir. But she didn't seem particularly happy. All because Lu Shiqing treated her with cold indifference, even disgust. She tried desperately to please him, exhausting every effort, yet Lu Shiqing remained unmoved. Seeing her, it was like looking into a mirror. In that mirror, I saw my past life. In my past life, I was just like her. Only I had an extra layer of dignity. Lu Shiqing wasn't happy either. He was completely consumed by the obsession of past and present lives. Clearly, letting go would lead to a better outcome. But he couldn't let go. Just as in the past life, he had always pursued that unattainable shadow. This life was no different. Only, in the past life, he had obtained it but failed to cherish it. This life, he truly sought it but could not attain it. My thoughts cleared. My mood lifted. Knowing they were suffering brought me peace. My wedding date with Zuofeng was fast approaching. My mother prepared a lavish dowry for me, saying it was to save face and prevent the princess's household from looking down on us. Truthfully, she was overthinking it. On our wedding day, Zuofeng gave me a small box. Inside were all the properties, deeds, shops, and silver registered under my name, already notarized. "It's all yours," he said. "My future salary will also be yours." "Well, my lady, the night is deep. Let us retire." "Wait, I have something to say. We'll talk in bed." I was so furious I wanted to strike him. "You're the one who wouldn't give me a chance to speak." In my final moments of consciousness, I dreamt. I dreamt of my mother taking me to the stables as a child to teach me to ride. I learned quickly. Innocent and carefree, I galloped freely. A handsome youth in brocade robes approached me. "You ride beautifully. Whose daughter are you?" In a haze. The youth's face merged with the man before me. He leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Through past lives and this one, I will always love you." The end.